This is why you should never answer the door late at night. A woman woke up to a knock at her door. When she opened the door, no one was there, so she went back to bed. A few hours later, she woke up again to a loud noise. She looked to her window and saw the word smile written in the frost. She reached over to call 911, but saw that a post-it note was stuck on her phone and it said, "I told you to smile." She ran out of the house, called the police, but nothing was found. The next night, she decided to put a camera in her room. But she could have never predicted what those cameras would show her. At 3 a.m., something crawled out from underneath her bed. It was a tall, pale man with no clothes and bulging veins all over his head. He walked over to the camera until his face took up the entire shot. Then his mouth widened into an unnaturally large smile. He just stared at the camera like that for hours, not blinking. The woman skipped the video until she saw herself getting out of bed and picking up the camera. And that was the last thing the cameras recorded, which meant the man never left her house.
Story time of how I caught my grandma and my dad sleeping together. Yes, you heard me right, my dad was sleeping with my grandma. Sadly, I had to be the one to find this out and walk in on them doing the dirty, and it was probably the most traumatizing experience I've ever had. So basically, my dad told my mom that he had to start working late to get extra money, because at the time we weren't doing so good money-wise. So basically, a couple months go by, and my mom said he started acting really, really weird, and then asked me to keep an eye on him and see if he's, doing anything strange. So you know me, the best daughter in the world, kept an eye on him, and I didn't find much out. Until one day, after I came home from school, I got locked out of my house because I didn't have my key, and both of my parents were so called at work. So I told my mom, and she works an hour away, so she couldn't come get me. And so I just had a friend drop me off at my grandma's house. So I tried calling my grandma, but she didn't answer, so I decided I was just gonna go anyways. I go through the back door like I always do, and I wanted to sneak up on her and give her a hug. So I try to be as quiet as I can, and I walk in the room and see my grandma and my dad butt naked on the bed. I'm running out of time, for part 2.
Have you ever met someone who wouldn't take no for an answer? That's what happened to Jillian, but things took a strange and unexpected turn. Jillian always went to this one cafe, and one day she bumped into a young man. His name was Charles. Charles came from a wealthy family and thought that no woman could ever say no to him. He asked Jillian to have coffee with him, and she did. They had a friendly conversation for a while, but by the time the cafe was about to close, Charles gently grabbed Jillian by the hand and asked her out. She said, "I'm sorry, you're just not my type," and left. This made Charles furious. From then on, he'd come to the same cafe every single day to hope that Jillian was there. It got to the point where Jillian would look through the window and see Charles waiting for her. She'd feel uncomfortable and leave. It just seemed like he wouldn't take no for an answer. But things were not so simple. One day, it was the final straw. Charles brought flowers to the cafe and waited for Jillian. When she didn't show up, Charles took the flowers, threw them on the ground, and stomped on them. He yelled, "That's it, I'm gonna make you my girlfriend if it's the last thing I do." The next day, he looked up Jillian's address in the phone book and went to her house. But he could never have expected what he would find there. Follow for part 2.
I have a best friend of 9 years, and we've run into a major problem just recently. First of all, she's very attractive but has terrible luck with men. Men treat her like shit, so she doesn't trust them. I've been in a serious relationship for almost a year, so my boyfriend has met all of my friends. From day one, my best friend took an instant liking to him. They're both hilarious, so they laugh like maniacs whenever they're around one another. They're extremely entertaining together because they feed off each other's personality and energy. Everyone loves it except for me. It's obvious she has feelings for him. I spoke to my best friend about this, and she admitted to having a crush on him. The problem is, she won't back off. My boyfriend says I have nothing to worry about. However, she went behind my back and bought him the new Xbox One for Christmas. She stole my idea. She knows I was going to buy him this for Christmas because I told her. She's given my boyfriend tons of hints, so he already knows what she got him. So now I'm gonna look like the asshole if I ask him to reject the gift. Plus, he's going all out for her Christmas gift as well since she spent so much on him. This is not okay with me. I've noticed that whenever we're together with my boyfriend, she always tries to make herself look better and subtly puts me down in tiny ways. I'm seriously tempted to end my friendship. My boyfriend says I'm overreacting. What should I do?
I was ringing up a dad and son, and the first thing I noticed about them is they were both wearing t-shirts with fish on them, so I knew they were probably used to catching shit, and I was definitely not about to let them catch an attitude. So the dad stopped me as I was ringing things up, and he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, that's supposed to be on sale." And I was like, "Oh, okay, just let me rescan it." And so I rescanned it, and the price was just like my weight. It just wasn't getting any lower. So I looked at him and I was like, "This price is stagnant." And he was like, "Okay, we'll get someone else over here." So my coworker came over and she scanned the item and manually entered the item number, and the price just wasn't moving. And then the dad decided to elbow the son and go, "Haha, how many women does it take to scan an item?" And then he elbowed him again and decided to repeat the joke. And I was just sitting there like, dang, you about to bruise his ribs. So then the dad took us to where he saw the sale sign, and lo and behold, there was a sale sign, but it was for a completely different product. So I looked at him and I said, "See, this sign is actually for a different product, as you can see printed on here." And then I elbowed my coworker and said, "Haha, how many men does it take to read a sign?"
Okay guys, I'm making the part 2 right now and I'm literally laying in bed. I took off my makeup and you guys have to realize that I literally do these videos at like 10 o'clock at night and they get posted at like 1 in the morning and then I go to bed at like 2. And for all of you commenting I'm clout chasing, bro, chill out. It's been like 3 hours. So anyway, she comes up to me and shoves the phone in my face and goes, "Who the fuck is this?" And I literally looked at her and started laughing my ass off. And she was like, "What the fuck is so funny, Kaylee, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Go ahead, hold on the name." And she held on the name and realized it wasn't her fucking boyfriend. So I packed up my things while she literally went and sat on her bed and started crying. She was like, "I don't want to lose my best friend." So fast forward, her and her boyfriend broke up. Her and I weren't friends anymore. And then she would always try to accuse me of getting with him. Moral of the story, don't get involved in other people's relationships. Bye guys.
Part 2 to the toxic ex-friend group story time. So, I invited them to the party, they showed up, and they were being really rude and like standoffish the whole entire night. And these girls literally hated it whenever I would hang out with the boys or talk to the boys. Come to find out that every single one of the girls had a crush on every single one of the guys that were in my friend group. Also, I'm a very friendly person and will talk to anybody, and they got pissed off whenever I was talking to anybody who wasn't them. So a little bit into the party, I start getting a lot of dirty looks from a lot of different girls that I've never even talked to. And this girl walks up to me and she's like, "Why have you been Snapchatting my boyfriend?" And I'm like, "Girl, what are you talking about?" She goes, "A few of your friends told me that you like my boyfriend and that you've been Snapchatting him and trying to get with him." So then she calls the girls over from my friend group and goes, "Didn't she tell me this?" And they're like, "Yeah, she tries to get with everybody's boyfriend." So after that, I got kicked out of both friend groups because they spread a bunch of lies and rumors about me.
So I was just getting my nails done, and while I was there was a baby screaming and crying because it was past her bedtime and she didn't want to be in the stroller, and the mother just kept apologizing to everybody in the building, saying, "I'm so sorry, she should have been asleep by now, I thought she'd be asleep by now, I'm so sorry." So I had the guy hurry up with my nails so that I can go over there and introduce myself, let her know that I'm a mother of 2 boys, been there, done that, and let me help you. And she let me help her, so I held the baby while she finished getting her nails done. And whenever she was done, she's like, "Thank you so much, we're getting Christmas pictures done, so if we weren't doing that, getting my nails done wouldn't have even been on my radar," which absolutely not. Mothers, stop apologizing for your crying baby, whether you're at the nail salon or a restaurant or on an airplane. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to apologize because our child is trying to communicate with us, okay? Our child cannot look us in the face and say, "Mother, I'm disgruntled at the moment. Can you please rearrange my seating situation?" So we're not going to apologize that our child is crying anymore. Stop doing that. And other moms, because a lot of people were in there staring, let's offer assistance. It's not going to kill us. Let's help each other out.
This is why you should always trust your gut. In the 1970s, a young couple decided to go for a late-night hike in the woods. A couple minutes into their walk, and the man remembers thinking, something's not right. He tells his girlfriend, but they just decide to ignore it and keep going, until he steps on something that felt really soft, like it was alive. Before he has a chance to see what he stepped on, they hear all this rustling in the bushes next to them, and they bolt. Years later, that couple turns on the TV, and a death row inmate who's about to be executed is being interviewed. And they ask him, "Was there ever a time that you were almost caught red-handed?" He responded, "Yes, one time. I was in the woods, and a couple walked through, and the man actually stepped on the body of a girl I had just killed. I was hiding in the bushes just a few feet away. They didn't see me." That couple had run into one of the worst serial killers of all time, Ted Bundy.
Part 3 about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So like I said, I'm laying under the bed, no clothes on. She asks where I am. And he's like, "Oh, she should be in her room." So he goes looking for me everywhere with her. And he's like, "Oh, well, maybe she's outside on the patio." And I don't know why the hell my mom's sister had a key to our apartment anyways. But she's still looking for me in the apartment, and she looks under the fucking bed. And at first she's like, "Oh my god, what did he do to you?" And I'm trying to tell her nothing, like I made that decision on my own. So she calls my mom right away. My mom comes home, she's screaming at me, and she kicks me out. So I go to my grandma's house, and I told my grandma what happened. And my grandma calls her, and she's like, "It's not her fault that you gave her daddy issues." And I'm like, bruh, what the fuck? Child, anyways. So then she goes on Facebook and starts posting about how I'm a whore and a slut and how, like, it isn't her boyfriend's fault at all. So now I live with my grandma.